Hey, what is up guys? It is your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be following secret.xi.uwin. And the purpose of this is he plays a very fascinating Mars game here today. This game is going to really show you guys how you can adapt your offlane gameplay, especially if you're having a tough time. Even if you're a mid laner or a safe laner, I'm going to be answering a lot of questions on how you can recover a game, how you can turn a bad game into a great game with a couple of simple tactics. So I hope you guys are excited for this. If you are, let's smash the like button and make it absolutely broken and get it to 2,000 likes. If you guys could get this video to 2,000 likes, I will stream Dota for the first time. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But nonetheless, let's hop right into it. Yeah, by the way, get a gameleap sub. If you didn't know, I'm posting coaching sessions there right now. Top tier stuff. Better than anything you've ever seen before. It's gonna instantly make you gain MOR. That's a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. And I hope to see you there. Alright, so basically what ends up happening in this lane is very, very bizarre. It's not the main thing I want to cover. And the reason why it's not the main thing I want to cover is because it's not like your usual pub. He's getting 2v1 right now. The gyrocopter and the IO are literally zoning him off the creep wave completely. He's getting nothing right now. And they're kind of just sapping XP, right? They're basically trying to win the lane before it even starts. Now, Zai, being the smart player that he is going to allow Yasuo to take the reins of the lane. He understands that this is going to be near impossible for him, and the only thing he can do is use his low mana W to secure creeps. That's it. That's all he can actually do. He's also making them tank a ton of creeps here. Really good bait of that range creep. By the way, let's quickly go over that. That was incredible. So, you see this range creep right here? He threatens it, right? He threatens it super hard, and the reason why this is so effective is because the wave doubled up. Basically, what Crit and RTC should have done is hit it at the same time. I think this is just a mistake on their end for the most part, but Zai baits this. He knows they're in a massive creep wave, right? They're in a absolutely huge creep wave. 2 ranged heroes, they can't tank it at all, and yet they do tank it. They're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna soak it up. So, to be fair, you know, they are IO gyro after all, so they can heal through it, but it still is a very favorable trade, even using the slow to keep them in the creep wave. Absolutely huge plays by Zai just to win a 2v1, and it's really great positioning as well. Now, this upcoming play here is one a lot of you probably saw on stream, but it's just such a profound understanding of how this matchup works. Mars' biggest weakness in the laning stage is magical damage. Period. That's what it is. Because otherwise, he can push away physical damage with his God's Rebuke, and he can use Bulwark to actually block a lot of it. And therefore, the main thing he has to be concerned about here is Rocket Barrage, and therefore he knows when the Rocket Barrage is going to come, he can juke around the trees, right? Because Arteezy expected him to run down in a straight line here, right? Just run back to his tower and get off a full Rocket Barrage. But Zai, being the next level player that he is, completely dodges it and is able to take a very, very favorable trade. And that's just one of those mechanical plays that is so lane winning. It's hard to see it in the short term, but that amount of damage can prevent Arteezy from going on him a minute from now. And the last thing I want to talk about in the lane, because I did say that this video was not really lane focused, it's more about after the lane, I just have to go over, and I have to go over this example of him pulling creep aggro. I know a lot of you are about to say, Speed, you say this every single video, but this is a great example of sneaking creep aggro. He literally has to become James Bond when it comes to creep aggro. If you don't know who that is, it's an assassin for movies. But basically, this creep wave is about to go to this range creep, right? And he instantly pulls aggro, right? So this one's pretty basic. However, things are still not that safe, right? Things are still not that safe. And so he has to continue every single wave to sneak up and pull creep aggro from max range. And so right here is the example I want to talk about. Currently, the Phoenix is mid. He can't 2v1, it's not going to work. And therefore, he has to get the lane back. That's all he can do. That's literally the only play he can make besides just sit around and get denied, which is not up. And so what does he do? He waits for the IO to move to the right, he waits for Gyro to seemingly not pay attention to him, and he goes for creep aggro. And yes, that's all you're looking for, and that's why he's also going to walk to the left, right? If he pulls creep aggro from here, he could actually just straight up die. He could get body blocked by the IO and die. So he comes from the left side, staying out of vision to the best of his ability, and is able to get off the aggro. I know it seems like a small deal, but that little positioning to stand on the left side and pull creep aggro from max range at the perfect time is really a big thing that separates, you know, good from great. So the next thing you can do to come back into Dota games is as followed. Well, first things first, let's lay the scene. It's 12 minutes in, he has 27 last hits, but no deaths. And therefore he's level 7, which really isn't that bad. After all, Arteezy's level 7. It's not that bad, he's okay. So yeah, he's doing alright, but what you can do to come back, if you're playing any sort of nuker hero, whether or not it's Underlord or Mars, there's a lot of other examples, Earthshaker, Treant, Tiny, Clockwork. I know it seems bizarre, but what you can do is you can go Soul Ring and Tranquil Boots. Now you do want a Bracer and a Stick and these sort of items as well, but basically this is one of the most stat efficient builds in my opinion that lets you fight early into the game. Tranquil Boots allows you to get in position, giving you 70 movement speed to close the gap. It's basically a pseudo Blink Dagger. You can see when he's smoked here, he currently has 437 movement speed, and with the Soul Ring you can actually sustain it. Soul Ring was changed where it does not give HP regen anymore. It gives 6 strength and 2 armor, and because of that you need some form of sustain. Typically, bracers are kind of the way around that, or just salves, or a stick, but tranquils are fantastic as well. And so yeah, anytime you're playing a hero that can fight, and I gave the examples of it, Clockwork, even Doom, Mars, anyone who wants to run around and create space, you can do this. Now it's particularly effective in this game because he's playing against a lot of magical damage, a Gyro, a Rubik, an Underlord, an Ember. There's a high chance his Tranquils actually might not even get cancelled. Now sure, there is Flat Cannon, Sleight of Fist to come into play, but I love this decision. I just overall love it. I think it makes a lot of sense with the Soul Ring, and I highly recommend it. And then yeah, what he's going to do with it is just start to make plays. He's literally the roamer. He's completely the roamer. Now why does this work? Because you can't just play offlane, roam, and try to create space every game. Half the time you're going to mess up, and what's going to happen is you're going to fall behind and become underleveled. This strategy is only useful if your team has other scaling cores that are farming, or if your team is going to play super high tempo and try to just run over the game, or if you are super far behind. And when you put them all together, it creates a really good game like this for Zai. He has 2 scaling cores, a Morphling and a Lone Druid, so him creating space makes a particularly large amount of sense, and he's behind. And because of that, him trying to farm is likely suicide. The Gyro can likely solo kill him, there's a potential relocate, the Ember can catch onto him very easily, and therefore, this playstyle where he sticks with supports and can kill anyone with an AA Blast Spear combo makes a ton of sense. And I hope that makes sense for you guys as well. Now you might be saying, Speed, how does this apply to the safe lane or the mid lane? A lot of mid laners are very similar. So for the mid lane, I don't think it's as hard to picture. If you're playing Lina or Zeus or Storm or Ember or Void Spirit and you had a bad lane, you can take the same approach as Zai is right here, as long as you have a scaling core. Now if you're playing safe lane, it's a bit harder. More often than not, if you're playing a hero like PA, you don't want to do this. Don't buy Tranquils and Soul Ring on PA. You're just gonna feed. But if you're playing a safe lane hero such as Ember or Juggernaut or even Arc Warden, I'm not saying buy Tranquils and a Soul Ring, but you can take the similar approach and playstyle where you create space and only really pushing creep waves. The next concept you want to understand is honestly the hardest out of all of them. So we started in the early game there, he made a smoke play, right? Zai made a smoke play, he got a kill onto the Rubik with the help of his Phoenix and his AA. It worked out great. Now, at this point in the game, EG is playing very defensive. They have a relocate and an Ember. It is very difficult and dangerous to make a smoke play, right? It is very, very dangerous. EG can easily counter-initiate on it and kill all 3 of the heroes that are trying to gank. And therefore, what is Zai doing instead? He's taking the dangerous farm. Now, you might be saying, Speed, mid? How is mid dangerous in this case? Now, this is a little bit of speculation, but I love to speculate on this channel. I love to give you guys ideas and come up with ideas. The reason why this is particularly dangerous is because the mid tier 1 is dead. If the mid tier 1 is alive, he can take this farm, no problem. Mid lane would potentially be the safest lane to farm if the mid tower was alive, because they would have vision, it prevents smoke ganks from particular angles, and most importantly, his team can TP in. But because it's dead, and he still wants to farm, he's going to take this dangerous wave. Now if we look bottom, this is a lot safer because there's a tower. If we look top, it's just hard to gank top because it's very far away. They can also ward it if they need to, right? And sure, there's a tower relatively close. But mid lane, the mid tier 2 is the closest, and that's it, right? Sure, it's mid, and that's why this actually works out. EG tries to make the play, and because Zai took the hardest farm and is the tankiest hero and has stat-efficient items such as Soul Ring, Stick, Bracer, he's able to bait the enemy team in. And this makes a lot of sense. So anytime your mid-tier 1 is dead, and you're playing a space creator, right, or you need to create impact on the map, or you want to start a good fight, instead of baiting your farming course into taking bad engagements, take hard farm. I'm going to repeat this once again so everyone understands the major points of this concept. If you are playing a space creator and you have been feeding in the lane or you had a bad start, what you want to do is take the hardest farm possible without overextending. I hear a lot of the time, and I see it all the time with offlaners, they will have a bad start and then commit suicide in side lanes for 20 minutes straight. Don't do that. Can you die from time to time? Yes, it's okay. It happens. But do you want to intentionally die for quote-unquote space? No. What you want to do is you want to create as much space as possible and move on from there. You want to back when you see the enemy team coming. Now, the last thing I want to do to end off this video, and I know it's kind of a shorter video. Well, actually, was it shorter? I don't know. Regardless, buy your gameleap subs. Nonetheless, this is going to be 2 examples of high ground pushes, and this is important to know because very often when you're behind and you're playing these sort of like team fighty heroes or just fighty heroes in general, the main mistake people make is falling into this trap of being underfarmed, but having their team do well and then feeding. Now, this is very advanced. Basically, what happens, and to explain it one more time, Morphling and Lone Druid are huge. They're huge. Like, huge. And so Morphling has 15,000 net worth, Lone Druid is 14,000, nearly 15,000. They can't die. They're basically unkillable unless someone makes a mistake. And therefore, what happens is, with a lot of players, is they'll say, okay, my top 2 heroes are farm. That means I am just as farm. My team is doing this well. That means I am also unkillable. Now, they don't consciously think that, but it's kind of like what happens. And therefore, they jump in like Zydos here. And I'll be honest, I really do see this as purely a mistake. Now, he does end up getting saved to some extent. Maybe he just wanted to bait them out. But basically, he goes in here and he tried to spear him back into the Morphling, right? He went for a spear playback. Makes sense, right? Well, not really, because the thing is, EG is obviously all on their high ground. He's just going to get lifted into the base, right? And that's exactly what happens. He gets lifted into the base. Now, fortunately, his team is a bunch of gods, so he gets glimmered, he gets E-bladed at the right time, he also has the Yules to keep himself alive, but still, he ends up going down. That's a mistake. Guys, do not fall into the trap of saying, my cores are farm, I can make dumb plays. I can make foolish plays, I can overextend. Do not do this. If you are under farm and your team is doing well or your team is doing meh, you still need to make the enemy team run into you. You still need to look for heroes that are separated in the fight. That is how you win Dota fights. You look for people that are separated or you look for targets that you can burst. In that case, that was a mistake. Let's get into the second example. Alright, so in this example here, we went back 5 minutes approximately and they were going high ground. Now at this point in the game, there's 3 heroes dead, right? The Ember's respawning in 20 and the other 2 heroes in about 10, now 5. And they're pushing high ground. There's no problem with this. There's 3 heroes dead. It's whatever. But this is a much better example, right? This is an example of sensical dives. It makes sense. Why does it make sense? The IO and the gyro are not here. Now you might be saying, Speed, what about a relocate? Where are they going to relocate? And how fast are they going to relocate? Nowhere, and nowhere nearly as fast as they need to catch Zai if he goes for a spearback play. It's not fast enough, and therefore he can go for it. Right? This is the only time you could do something like diving high ground, when you see that the most farmed heroes on the enemy team are not even close, and therefore he can look for it. Now they backed, but likely they're just going to be farming through the jungle. Actually, they start to run back to the base, but that's what they're doing. They also probably know, Secret likely knows because they're top tier players, that there is no TP, and therefore he can go for a spear play, right? Because he knows the enemy team is not properly set up, right? In this case, he's also not in lift range, and he can specifically see the Rubik because this wave is shoved in, right? The Lone Druid's on the high ground. It makes total sense. He can't get lifted, and you can also see after he throws a spear, he doesn't bother auto-attacking. He doesn't even cast God's Rebuke. He just backs. Why? Because when you are this underfarmed, and when you are just the initiator or you're just the bait hero, you do not want to force your team to extend far up, especially yourself. He wants to get off another spear. That should be his goal, right? Get off another spear. So he does end up getting chains, but because, you know, the examples we talked about earlier, he's not going to die, and the fight's good. In fact, he's able to reset, and then pff, that was insane. Great placement of the Mars Arena, completely saving the Phoenix, getting a double stun onto the IO. Great relocate though on the way out. Obviously, it was just the end of the timer, but made a lot of sense, right? And that's an example of not overextending, understanding the circumstances that prevent it from being an overextension. And that's where Dota becomes complex, because a lot of the time I just see these offlaners. There's like this Tidehunter. Tell me this is familiar, guys, in the comments. There's this Tidehunter that has mana boots and a blink dagger 23 minutes into the game. He's been feeding the whole game, but he picked up his blink. But your cores are doing well. And then what he does is you guys go high ground, he blink ravages into 5 heroes that are literally across the map in their fountain, and you can't follow it up. He dies, and then he says, team! It's so common, especially in low and more pubs. And so yeah. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was definitely a different type of video, but I like doing these where I kind of just rant on cool information that I don't feel like I cover often. And so yeah, I hope to see you in the next one, and peace. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me, but I recommend you sign up to gameleap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're going to see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster, because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream, and that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're gonna see there, and I hope to see you there right now, so click it, and yeah, thanks for watching.